Well, hi, everybody. My name is Bruce Firestone. I'm a real estate investment and business coach. I'm also the founder of the Ottawa Senators Hockey Club. I built about 2,000 homes. I built an arena for 20,000 people, lots of office buildings and shopping plazas, done all kinds of things in real estate. And here I am today with co-founder of Briefcase.email, Fred Bassili, and we're going to do a little Q&A together. And Fred, do you want to tell us what it's all about?
Well, thanks for the intro, Bruce. So like Bruce said, Fred Bassili, co-founder of Briefcase.email. We're a real estate investment newsletter read by 20,000 real estate investors and professionals. Instead of focusing on news about real estate, we look a lot at like trends and cultural events that might affect the real estate market or real estate trends in general. And we're starting a new series called 5 Questions With, where we sit down with someone that's extremely knowledgeable in one facet of real estate or who's an influencer in the industry. And in this case today, it's with Bruce. And we go through a couple of questions to help some of our readers kind of navigate the ever-changing world of real estate. So today, Bruce is a very well-regarded coach in the industry. Full disclosure, both Brad, the other co-founder of Briefcase, and myself have worked with Bruce before. We've had calls. Brad is also a very regular student or mentee of Bruce, however you want to call it. So full disclosure on that front, but there's a reason that we wanted to talk to Bruce today, and it's about coaching. And coaching is one of those things where it can be a little tricky to find the right coach, and there's a lot of content out there. Floating on social media and like on blogs and whatnot. And sometimes it's just hard to discern whether the coach is right for you or if it's even a good coach. And that's kind of like what I wanted to go over with Bruce today. And I have a couple of questions touching on that. So of course, he's got our seal of approval if we're going to him for some questions. So I think the first question that real estate investors or even enthusiasts would have is like, what would be an advantage or some advantages that anybody who's investing in real estate would have in collaborating with a coach?
Well, before I answer that question, Fred, I want to comment about Briefcase. This is a little love affair going on between you and me and Brad. Briefcase.email is a very, very good weekly newsletter. I was one of the earlier subscribers to it. And I'm not just saying it because you're on the call with me. It's data-driven. A lot of the stuff that I do, Fred, in my practice is based on, experience and instinct and throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what works and what doesn't. And then, you and Brad started Briefcase.email, and a lot of the data that I need to justify in retrospect, things that I thought were accurate, but wasn't, 100% sure, I get that from Briefcase. So I'm very grateful, and so are 20,000 other people. The real estate industry right now today, we're talking in October 2023, is completely different than it was even 15 months ago. Interest rates have gone from 2 or 3% to 7%. It's extremely difficult to qualify for a mortgage. And I'm not just talking about residential mortgages, commercial mortgages. Loan-to-value ratios have dropped, appraised values have dropped. So we are in a completely different world than just even 15 months ago. So when you're looking for a real estate coach, you also want somebody who's not, just teaching something that he or she has been teaching for 20 years or a decade or more, because the industry and the environment in which we work changes all the time. And what I do in my coaching practice, the very first thing I do with the people I coach is I look for a real estate business model. Most people think business models apply only to technology companies. That's far that's not accurate. Business models are needed in technology, in services, in every field of endeavor, including real estate. And, when you talk to most people, they think real estate investing is you buy a house and you rent it out. And that's it. Or maybe they figured out, maybe you buy a house and it's a duplex and you have 2 incomes instead of 1. Well, that is a model of sorts, but there are There are dozens, maybe even hundreds of different business models. And it's very important to find one that sort of calls to you, where you have some skills, where you have some passion, where you think it will make some money. And then this is the hardest part, at least for me, because I coach about 2,500 high energy people, many of them quite young, is stick to it. Because the people in our industry, Fred, who make the most money are the ones who are making sausages. You know, they're doing something and it works. And then what they do is they don't get distracted and try something completely different. It's like running Facebook and then a shoe store. Well, what does one have to do with the other? So, for example, I have some people that I coach who are into the contractor yards. They take a piece of industrial land, they divide it up into small yards, and they rent those yards to contractors where they can store equipment and inventory, what else. Every contractor needs that, because you can't park your loader or your dozer in your driveway. The ordnance police will be on you within a day or two. And those people, they focus on that model and they just build one after the other, and they're all pretty much the same. Those are the people who make the most money, so don't get distracted.
Awesome. And so distractions is one thing, but when you're looking for a real estate coach, what would you say would be a good way for the student or the mentee to make sure that the real estate coach, their goals or their way of, or their experience even in real estate, matches with the goals that they have for their own life or their career?
Well, I think that a good real estate coach, in fact, a good life coach, can probably get you to where you want to go 5 or 10 years earlier. Most people will probably get to where they want to go, but it takes a long time. And what a good coach can do is he or she can help you sort of I don't want to use the term shortcut, but at least get to where you want to go a little bit faster. And what you have to be very careful, whether it's life coaching or any other kind of coaching, including real estate, is there are a hell of a lot of scams out there. Like, for example, there was one young man, nice young man, who was teaching people how to flip houses. That's something I won't do. And the reason I don't do it is everybody I know flips until they flop. Everybody, without exception. They flip and then, oh, I made $30,000, great. And then they do another one and they lose 50, right? It's a little bit like going to the racetrack. You only talk about your wins, right? But everybody flips until they flop. So this young man was telling me about his program, and he was charging people $61,000, which is a lot of money upfront to put them through his program. And I asked him, what percentage of the people who've gone through your program succeed? And he said, well, about 94% fail. And I made him repeat that because I wasn't sure I heard him right. But, if you had any kind of a business where 94% of your clients are failing, that tells me that you should find something else to do with your time and with your energy. And so, what you're looking for is a coach who will listen to you, listen to your agenda, and put your agenda before his own or her own, right? And you're the boss. The coach is somebody who's trying to facilitate your success. So if you have a coach who has, is teaching wholesaling, teaching flipping, and it's just one size fits all, and you have to fit within your coach's program, to me, those programs are worthless.
Yeah, it almost seems like you need to find a coach who's dipped their toe in different buckets of real estate investing, and
Well, for example,
had the successes and the failures and can share that.
So, for example, in my case, I've got some former students of mine. I used to be a professor at the University of Ottawa. I've got some former students of mine who are buying, she's buying her first duplex, and I've got a couple of billionaires I coach, and their requirements, their needs, their questions to me, and the ways I can help them are incredibly different. So that's why I say it's your agenda, the coachee or the mentee, it's your agenda that drives the coaching, not the other way around, in my opinion.
And you touched on something earlier, which are, we'll just call them snake oil salesmen.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets, I think, very difficult for people who aren't experienced working with the coach, is identifying when you're being scammed or you're being pushed into a program that like you said, is they just ram you through this cookie cutter that isn't the right fit for you. So what would you look for to just get that feeling that something's not right, or that it's a scam, or that it's just snake oil, and that you're about to get scammed into something?
Well, like I said, there are a lot of coaches out there who are selling one size fits all. And they feel that they have a scheme to get rich quick. And most of when anybody tells you, I know how to make you rich quick, right there, there should be some alarm bells, because with all due respect, I don't know how to get rich quick. Probably Fred, you don't know either. And when people ask me, how do I get rich quick? I say, I'm so glad you asked that question, because I don't know and I can't help you. So I'll get a call and they'll say, Mr. Firestone, how are you? And I'll say, oh, good. How are you doing? I hear you know something about real estate. I know something about it. Yeah. So can you help me find a 100-unit apartment building that makes $100 per unit per month after paying for everything, including mortgages and property taxes and all your operating expenses? So I can make $10,000 a month, and it has to have great tenants, because I don't want to have any bad tenants, and it has to have great property management, because I don't want to do any work. And oh, by the way, it has to be a no money down deal.
Yeah.
And I'll say, did you just do a rich dad, poor dad conference? And they'll say, well, how did you know? And I said, well, because this is probably the third or fourth call I got this week on the same subject. And let me ask you this, Fred, if I found a building that somebody was going to give me no money down, that made $10,000 a month and had no work involved and had great property management in place, you think I'd be calling that person?
Yeah.
I don't think so. So when people ask you, I don't want to do any work, it has to be passive income. That for me, I've had about 2,500 people go through my coaching practice since I've been doing it, which is about 10 years now. And I've had about 97, 98% success rate. So it's been pretty good. And the reason that the success rate is so high is that I screen out people who are looking to do no work and have done these courses, some of them very, very expensive, which are really selling, you called it snake oil, and I can't think of a better term.
Yeah. And I guess that's one a pitfall that you could fall into. I think going with expectations too. We all go into new situations with expectations. And then for the mentee or the coachee, what do you think some of the misconceptions they would have going into like a relationship with the coach, or like a sort of program like this? Like what maybe sometimes you have to like course correct when it comes to these kinds of
Yeah,
expectations?
that is a great question, and I haven't had many failures, but I've had probably 7 or 8 over the 10 years that I've been doing this. And in each case, it was because my coaching client said, just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's a coach's job to tell Fred or Betty or anybody else what to do, because then what you have is you have a robot. And what a great coach, what he or she will do is they will do sort of like a brain transplant for me to you, so that you can make good decisions on your own. I mean, it's like, Fred, I can't remember if you have any kids.
No, we got one coming in a week.
Oh, wow. Well, get some sleep now, because you won't get any in a week.
That's what everyone says.
Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
But what I'm saying is when you have a child, your job as a parent is to equip that child to survive on his or her own. You can't be there when your child is 15. You can't be there making sure that she isn't taking drugs that will hurt her, or he isn't getting involved in some bad activities that could lead him down the wrong road. You can't be there all the time. You just can't, no matter how careful and how much you love your children. You want to equip them. And to me, a generous, kind, thoughtful coach is equipping his folks to, get out of the nest and fly on their own. You can only do that by putting your coaching client first.
That's well said. And so we came in with the misconceptions, but then, and this is less so about you being a coach, but a general question about what you've observed throughout the years, the mindsets, some of the habits that some of either your most successful or everyone that you've noticed have taken the most out of this coaching relationship. Like, what are the mindsets and habits of successful students?
So where I start, as I mentioned earlier, is let's see if we can develop a business model, one that, where you have some skills and you're passionate about it, and your brain tells you, yeah, that's probably going to make some money. All right, so you have a business model. And to understand where your skills lie and where your passion lie, you have to, at least in my opinion, you have to find your why. You've probably heard this before, Fred. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. I didn't come up with that. That's Mark Twain. And what I want to do with my coaching clients, and we worked really hard on this, is I help them to try and find their why. And when they do that, and they have this energy and this passion and this drive, it makes a huge difference. So you've got a model, they like that, and they go after it with all of everything that they have. And if any of your listeners want to see more or learn more about that, Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. Simon Sinek is a young man, a brilliant young man. He does about an 18-minute video on YouTube, Find Your Why. That is really, really useful to look at. So if you have found your why and you have a business model that you like and you're passionate about, and you're ready to do the work, you're open to new ideas and some experimentation, you're willing to learn new things, you're going to pay attention to detail, and you're not going to get distracted. When this is very difficult for entrepreneurs, because every week or two or every month, they have a great new idea and they go off in that direction. So, if you think about your life, if you want to go from here to there, but you travel this way, how long is it going to take you to get here, right?
Yeah.
That's a long way. Whereas the people who are very successful, they go in a pretty much a straight line, right? The shortest path between 2 points is a straight line, obviously. But if you're distracted by new ideas every couple of weeks and you change, you're probably never going to get to where you want to go. Let me give you an example. A young engineer, his name is Peter. He owned a franchise in the real estate industry, and he didn't realize that in the franchise agreement that he had signed, the master franchisor has the right to buy back the franchise at any time. And so all of a sudden, after spending 10 years building this incredibly profitable franchise, the company goes, great, this is awesome, Peter. Thank you so much for building this great business. We're now going to own it. So he came to me for some coaching. And so what, in his case, we went through the process, and he wanted to go into the mini storage business. It's a simple business. You throw open a garage door, you put your stuff in there, you close it. It's not a complicated business. He wanted to go into the mini storage business. And so I helped him buy a mini storage business, but he also put into that a bunch of contractor yards. So he had mini storage and contractor yards and some workshops, and it was fantastic. He calls me back about 3 years after he bought it. He said, Bruce, this is great. I'm making $25,000 a month after paying for everything. So I'm making about 300 grand a year. I said, Peter, this is fantastic. This is great news. I knew it was something you were passionate about, and that would probably work. And it obviously is. And he said, it's even better. In 7 years, when my mortgage is retired, my income is going to go up from $25,000 a month to $32,000 a month. And I said, that's great. And he's still a relatively young man in his 40s. I said, well, great. Let's go buy another one. And he said, whoa, wait a second. My wife and I, we only have one daughter. She's going to college soon, and we're going to be empty nesters, and we both like to travel, and we are, we're into adventure tourism. He said, Bruce, I make $25,000 a month. I work 4 hours a day. I can operate my business from my smartphone from Norway if I want to. He actually does a race in Norway. And he said, I'm good. I'm 48 years of age, and I have no intention of doing anything else. And I said, Peter, out of the 2,500 people I've coached, you're the first person to say that to me. But I totally respected that. I mean, he's good. He doesn't want to complicate his life. He works 4 hours a day, makes $300,000 a year, and he wants to party with his wife.
But again, like you said, he had a mindset, like he had a goal, and he had very clear expectations. So he's
Yeah,
not deviating from that.
and he's a brilliant engineer, and it didn't surprise me all that much. He's a different sort of cat, and he's actually coming to visit me in a couple of weeks, so we're going to have lunch together.
That's great. Well, Bruce, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciated the valuable insight, especially when we're talking about coaching and what to look for and those things. For subscribers of briefcase.email, you're going to get all this delivered in a nice email. For those who aren't, if you'd like to get more content like this delivered to your inbox, every 2 weeks, we have a 5 questions with someone like Bruce, or a CEO in a tech company, or someone setting a trend in the real estate industry. So you're going to get content like this. And every Friday, we have our trends deep dive, where we look at something happening in real estate. And like Bruce said, we try and match it with data that's out there. Bruce, where could people find you if they're interested in some coaching?
Well, it's probably best to contact me by email. I'm on that pretty much 24/7. And it's Bruce at brucemfirestone.com. I'll repeat that one more time. Bruce at brucemfirestone.com. You got to put the M in there. So Bruce at brucemfirestone.com. And what I do is I give people same day or next day response time, Fred. I'm not a paramedic, so it's not 5-minute response time.
Well, you are really fast with email, so we appreciate that. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and see you soon.
Thanks again.